It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the former Abilene Christian's assistant track and field coach, Brielle Collett. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Brandon. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about
Good.
how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college track and field?
Oh man, this is a great question. When I came into college, I really had no idea. To answer this question, I kind of have to go back a little bit. I'd been doing sports my whole life, played basketball as well in high school. I mean, I was a really I went to a super small school in Texas, little 1A. I had to play every sport. My dad, he was a former ACU track and field athlete. Very good. They were D2 at the time. He was there in the 80s, early 80s. And, he had a super great success story. He went from a 45-foot triple jumper to a 53.5 triple jumper. And still, he was among, he wasn't even the best on his team. He had other 53 plus jumpers on his team with him. So I grew up in the track and field mindset my whole life. So I had an affinity for that sport and just a passion for it that kind of was unparalleled. And I also loved how individual it was. It was all on you. Your success was all on you. So, when I went to ACU, I wanted to go there just because my dad had gone there. I was actually a walk-on as a heptathlete. I came at a perfect time. They were transitioning from D2 to D1. So for that transition process, it's like they couldn't qualify for any post-season competition. So it just worked that I was able to kind of slide in and be on the team. And, that's the only thing I really could have done. I couldn't have done it. I really wasn't that talented, but I just had such a work ethic and a passion for the sport. So I came in as a marketing business major. And I was like, okay, let's just figure this all out. Let's see what this is all about. And, it's I kind of went through, the business department. And I was like, okay, I can do this, but it's definitely not what I'm passionate about. And I'm a person that it's I want to be passionate about what I'm doing. And for whatever reason, I was taking a coaching minor. Don't know why. That was one of those things where, I'm a believer and I feel like God was just directing my path. And so I ended up taking an exercise physiology class. And I'm like, this is what I'm looking up in my free time. This is what I'm studying on my own when, I'm not training or in class or whatever. And so that's when I realized, I said, hey, there is a field for this. So I switched over to kinesiology, and this happened my sophomore year of school. And I was like, okay, I definitely am loving this. And then, I was one of those athletes that it's not a good athlete, better coach, because I was so analytical. I was so wanting to understand the sport and the event and the human body and how it related to training. And, it's just a journey that, again, could only have been laid out by God and just, my work ethic. And so it just fell into place. So from there, sophomore year, I switched. Junior year, I had gone through some health issues. So it was a really hard athletic year. And after that year, I was like, okay, I cannot compete anymore because I'm ill. Something's wrong. It was really hard to get through training. I ended up finding out I had EBV, Epstein-Barr. So from there, my college coaches, my multis coach specifically, I went to him and I was just like, look, something is going on with me. I'm not able to meet the demands of training, but I still love the sport. And he gave me the option. He's like, we'll take you back as an athlete the next year. Or he said, I'm offering you a position as a student assistant coach. And so, I took the summer to think about it. And about midsummer, I called him and I said, look, I'm going to come back as I'd like to take the position as a student assistant coach. And from there, it just kind of fell into place. It's I assisted. So my coach, he was actually the son of the head coach at the time. And so the head coach ended up becoming the multis coach. We did not have a jumps program, but again, my dad was a triple jumper. So there was always that affinity for the jumps. And so I assisted him with the multis, but yeah, we didn't have much jumpers, but I kind of had some hands on them. He sent me some high school athletes. So I was working with high school athletes as well. And this was all my senior year. And so I was like, okay, I'm really loving this. I was also interning in the weight room and I was learning so much. He was one of my mentors, our director of strength and conditioning at the time. And he introduced me to a whole bunch of training that was basically what my dad was doing back in the 80s. And so I'm like a nerd about this. I would literally stay up all night studying these things. And again, it just fell in my laugh really, and I realized, hey, like I'm pretty good at this and I'm super passionate about it. It's like I can kind of stay out here and stick with it, and it's like time will just fly by, and I have no idea it's flying by. And so graduated senior year, I had another amazing opportunity just kind of put in my lap to go to Angelo State University and be a graduate assistant coach, and also be in their first ever developing women coaches graduate program. So Angelo State has a really good track record as a D2 coach, or as a D2 program. And I was like, all right, I need to go figure out what's going on in this school. And so I went over there, and, you know, from that experience at Angelo State, that's when I realized, okay, like I am ready to do this. Like I know I can do this and be really good at it. And so, yeah, it was a learning and growing process. But then I realized, all right, this is something that I can do and I'm good at.
Of course, as an athlete, what was that like getting to put on that jersey, and how was that like obviously living out your family legacy of competing for Abilene?
It was definitely very, very amazing opportunity to be able to put on the ACU journey. There's such a rich tradition and legacy, and that's something that we talk about, you know, while I was at ACU, and just all the great history behind it. It was really an honor to be able to wear the ACU purple and white, you know, go Wildcats. I'm all about it. But yeah, it was special. My dad and I, we have a picture, and you know, then I ended up coaching the jumps, and my whole goal as a coach at ACU was to bring the jumps program up to the legacy what it used to be, because again, there was no jumps program when I got there as a freshman, and so I just wanted to bring it back to prominence, and to be able to do that and kind of put it back into prominence and into just highlight it again. That was really, really special for sure.
How did it help to leave Abilene to go to Angelo State, and what did you learn at Angelo State to help you?
I really think it's helpful. I mean, perspective, that's super important to anybody in their journey in life. So you need to go branch out. You need to get a feel for what people are doing at different places, and not just being like trying to pull all this stuff in and kind of like into a big melting pot and figure it out. No, but you need to get perspective and be exposed to different ways of doing things, different personalities. I mean, obviously, it's like I went to a Christian private school. That's a lot different than a public school. So there was that difference. And again, it's like Angelo State had a rich tradition as well. They used to rival ACU back in the day. So and I mean, they still did as a D2 program. They would come to our track meets, and it was like, all right, they're doing very well. Like they were right there, if not better in some events. And that was, you know, that was more so when I was a freshman and we were in our transitioning period. But that helped me because again, it just gave me perspective. So I was able to take that, and I learned a lot of lessons there. The head coach there, Tom Dibburn, he's a great guy, and he's, you know, very passionate about track and field as well.
What was it like getting to return back to your alma mater to join the coaching staff?
Oh, so again, this kind of goes back to, you know, talking about my dad and the rich tradition and legacy and history. It was such an honor. You know, the head coach, Jared Cook, he is the one who granted me the opportunity to walk on the team as a heptathlete, as a multi, my freshman year. And then again, he became the head coach, and he was the one who gave me the opportunity as a first time coach. Just like I hadn't even finished grad school, he gave me the opportunity to begin as an assistant coach at a D1 school. I mean, that was huge. It was very special. And again, it changed the course of my life for sure. I mean, both times, both things, you know, becoming a multi-athlete and then also coaching as well.
During your time at Angelo State, what was it like getting to coach the track and field side and the cross country side?
You know, it was just perspective. It's like there was a role that needed to be filled, and so I was it's like I really didn't know what my path was or what my future was. And you know, Coach Dibburn, he just said, all right, Bree, let's try out the cross country team as well. And so he knew I loved the jumps. He did. But, you know, it was just, again, gaining perspective and kind of filling a need and filling a role. It was, I mean, they've got a good system over there. So it was just fun to be a part and to learn and get perspective on all aspects.
How is it like leading that team to the Long Star Championship in 2020?
Oh, yeah, that was in Texas. It was at Texas Tech in their indoor sports complex. It was very special. I mean, it was stepping into that winning mentality. That's what I gained most. It's from my time being there. It was just like, okay, what does it take to win and sustain continuously? And it just be like expected. So that was what I learned during my time at Angelo State, was just this mentality. And I mean, yeah, it transferred into a title. I will never forget being there at the indoor conference meet, and just the energy. It's like, and for those who have been to the Texas Tech indoor facility, it's like all the jumps are happening right there in the middle, and it was just so electric. And just watching kind of different in action, and me being there as well, just like in the action, and watching athletes feed off of each other. It's like, okay, you'd have long jump going, and it's like they just like did amazing. You had some people who were in events who never really, it wasn't their main event, but they made it happen, and they just got the job done. So that was really cool to be a part of.
Of course, coaching at ACU, what was some of the things that you learned, and how was it like?
Oh, so I coached the jumps and multi jumps, just all jumps. I coached all the jumps. What did I learn? Oh, I learned a lot. I mean, I learned a lot about myself. When I got the job, I was 23 at the time. So I've always had this kind of like internal pressure to want to be great, to want to be, the best at the top. And that was definitely there. And again, being young and I was doing different things, I was, kind of fighting an uphill battle sometimes, but I knew to accomplish what I needed to do, it's like I just had to keep pressing forward. So, that internal strength, I had to have a lot of grit. And I found out what I was capable of doing, for sure. That's, I learned about myself. I learned about the strength that I had and what I could do, and being able to lead a group of athletes from point A to point B over the course of an entire athletic year is truly something that I'm very proud of. It's going to translate later in life as well.
What was that like, being so young and getting to have your first start in coaching?
Oh, yeah, that was really special. Definitely. I mean, it was a lot of times I got confused as an athlete, and a lot of people didn't really believe that I was like overcharge of a program. I mean, I programmed the weight room, I programmed general training, I did specific training. Like, I mean, Coach Cook, he definitely just gave me the reins and was like, okay, here you go, which I really appreciated. And he trusted me. It's like he knew my work ethic, he knew my passion. He was just like, here you go. And so it was really cool. I that's something that I'm proud of as well. Just, being able to coach. And again, it's like I actually had an athlete who was a little bit older than me when I started, and being first time, there's like, okay, like, does this girl really know what she's talking about? You got to figure that out at first, but they saw my passion, they saw my work ethic, and they just believed, and they bought in. They believed in me, I believed in them, and it was very mutual, and it was a very beautiful thing.
Of course, during your time, what were some of the teams that you faced in the track meet?
So again, only being there for 2 seasons, let me think. I mean, obviously our neighboring kind of schools, for indoor, we were either going to Texas Tech, A&M. I'm thinking sometimes distance would go to Pitt State, and then, our conference, we transitioned from Southland my first year to the Western Athletic Conference last year. So we faced Angelo State outdoor as well. I'm trying to think. Indoor, I'm trying to think. I mean, a lot of big D1 schools. It's like when we go to the indoor meets at Texas Tech, you'd have everybody there. It's this prime location, and it's kind of centralized, all across the nation. So I'm thinking, of course there'd be Texas Tech, there'd be U of H. One of the indoor meets I remember. I'm trying to think who else. Gosh, just a lot of the big D1 schools at these indoor meets. And then outdoor, kind of same thing. It's this last season we got to go to the Mount Sac relay meet, which was amazing. Love that one. Weather was premier. It's just a great arena to compete in. Also, I'm thinking Texas Relays. That was one of the big meets, and of course, everybody goes to that one as well. We went to a Texas Tech outdoor meet. We host 2 meets, and so yeah, we faced D1s, D2s.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you built during your time?
That's a good question as well. I was again in charge of the jumps program specifically, so it's that culture that I wanted to build. I wanted there to be pride in what they were doing. And it's like, okay, it's like, yes, we're doing this as a piece of the whole. that's what I wanted them to understand. It's like, all right, we're proud of what we're doing. We contribute this. It's like knowing that, hey, I can't do what the throwers are doing. I can't do what the sprinters are doing. Well, some of them can, but I'm going to contribute. I'm going to contribute my part to the whole. So that was the kind of work ethic the culture that I wanted to build, and very familial too. It's like, I'm very giving, very loving. That was my upbringing. And so I wanted that to be kind of centralized as well. It's like, okay, just very, very familial, it's like I wanted them to be hanging out with each other, and I wanted them all to be best friends kind of. And it's like, I know you're going to have different personalities, but just being able to motivate each other and be there in the trenches, because it's like being an athlete. It's like you kind of go to those places that you never go with another person in the outside of athletics. So being able to do those things together and that bond's created, that was really important to me as well.
What did the recruitment process look like for prospective student athletes that were looking to play college track and field?
For collegiate track and field athletes, and this was something that I was new at, definitely, was the recruitment process. That was something I was like, okay, I basically got to figure that all out. Received a lot of emails, and you had the different clubs reach out with like a list that they compiled, and it's like their GPA would be listed along with their personal best in the events. So I thought that was a really cool thing that these clubs did to kind of showcase their athletes. Going through a lot of emails. Also, some of the recruitment sites, those were big as well. The names don't really come to mind, but it's like I'd have some accounts on those, and I'd go through. Twitter was a big recruiting tool. Instagram, that was kind of where I'd find out. And then also, it's like contacts. It's like, if say I had I was friends with, somebody who knew this coach, and they would suggest somebody, that would kind of work as well, and out and be like, hey, here's this. And then I would reach out. It's because ACU is very niche, it's a small private D1. So it's finding people who want to be there. That was very important. And it's just like knowing, it's like, hey, there's these stipulations when you attend this school here. It's, there's chapel that you've got to go to. It's like we pray, we're a Christian school. So, just making sure that everybody's okay with that and wants to be a part of that culture, because that's important too. That's helpful for the team. So I'd reach out to them. They'd reach back, and we just kind of communicate and talk and schedule a visit depending on where they were, like their performance wise. We'd either schedule a unofficial visit or an official visit, and from then that would kind of just continue the process. So,
of course, being an alumni of the school and also being a coach during that time, what did the official visit look like, particularly for you, having those prospective student athletes visit that campus?
So for an official visit, and I'm remembering. So what I would do is basically it'd either be a day thing or an overnight thing. Try to schedule it around a football game, so it's like the student can, or the prospective student athlete can experience a good collegiate atmosphere, or collegiate atmosphere, and get that university feel while it's a buzz and everything's going. We really tried to schedule things in the fall, and we tried to schedule groups together as well. We tried to coordinate. That didn't always happen. So like for instance, homecoming was a big one. We have a track tailgate, so it's like we'd schedule the visit. They would have a student host from, if it was a jumper, they'd have a jumps host. And so it's like I would have dinner with the host and the PSA, and then the host or the family, and it just talks to them, and just again, it's like try to get them to know who I am and what I'm about and what's going to happen and what their time at ACU is going to look like. And then I also, again, would bring them to practices. They'd view what was going on there, what the athletes were doing. And it's like we'd just get a feel for the campus. And, it's like my group of athletes would take the student out or the PSA out for like, let's go bowling afterwards, after we'd all eat, and just, really try to inundate them in the program, in the facility. And so it's like the next day, that's when they'd meet with the head coach, or just whenever Coach Cook could meet with the family and the student. They would meet, and that's kind of when we would talk numbers, if that was the case, or just like, okay, that's kind kind of what it would look like there.
During your time as a coach, what was it like getting to see those players get to put on that jersey that you got to put on as a player?
That's a good question. It was just all about bringing ACU track and field to prominence again. That was the goal. And it's like, every time you put on that jersey, it's just like, all right, it's go time. It's like, okay, I don't know. For instance, one of our symbols, we have the tradition symbol, and it's something that we've recirculated back from ACU's Glory D2 days. And, that goes on the jersey, the back of the jersey. It's a little tradition sign, and it has the words tradition on it. And I really appreciated that. It's like that was always a constant reminder.
How's that transition been like going from being a college coach to getting into the corporate world and getting into massage therapists?
Oh, that's a good question for sure. So transitioning obviously was very tough. It was very tough leaving ACU and the athletes that I had a good relationship with, because it's like you enter into this kind of unsaid contract. It's like, hey, you're going to believe in me, I'm going to believe in you, and we're going to work towards this joint goal together. And, I was very, very, very passionate, was definitely working very hard, almost 24/7. Me being so new and wanting to learn and grow and invest and pour into the people that I was pouring into. So to transition out of something that I'd been involved in for, basically my whole life, the sports mindset, and specifically track and field, the last 7 years, that was very tough. But I knew now would be the best time to step out of it, because I do have some other goals and dreams that I'm wanting to achieve and kind of get sorted out first, and then I'd like to go back to it. I mean, a lot of your big time coaches of old, they were also, massage therapists. Charlie Francis, as controversial as he was also versed in massage therapy, and it's like you're able to help your athletes perform better. You're able to get a feel of their preparedness for training. And then, again, some of the Eastern Bloc coaches as well, they really knew physiology and anatomy of the body, and that helps them be a better coach. And it's all within the same vein. I mean, I'm doing massage therapy, but I'm also doing some other body work things. So, and I feel like this will be something that's for a small period, and then I'll go back to collegiate coaching. But I'm only 25 right now, so I've got some time, Lord willing. And I'm dealing with a different clientele, obviously. Like, it's much less intense, much less fast paced, slower paced for sure. So that's unique, but it's all under the same umbrella. It's like I'm helping somebody achieve their max potential. I'm helping somebody heal. I'm helping somebody feel better. Just like you're helping somebody achieve their max potential in track and field, but just in a different vein. So same idea, just different vein. I really couldn't and have no desire to work a desk job, something that I'm glued to a computer screen. So I'm still able to be mobile and use my hands and use my body and communicate and talk to people. So I appreciate that.
Have you took what you learned as a college coach and even as a track athlete to help you into this new world?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I would not be who I am today without track and field in my life, without being a coach for the last 3 years. It just would be, I would not be who I am today. I mean, as I told you, it was such a growth period for me and it's like I just knew what I was capable of at the end of the day. It's like after these 2 years specifically at ACU, I was like, wow, I really feel like I can do anything that I put my mind to. Because again, when you lead you this mindset that it's like, all right, if I can lead this group of people, if I can accomplish this, I can do anything. It's like you chart out. I'm really big into the programming and the periodization. So, and of course, hopefully all track and field coaches are, but that was something that I really loved, and that got my intellectual it stimulated me intellectually for sure. Charting that whole process out, and it's like it's like, all right, day by day, we just slowly accomplish this. That's very powerful as well. So that helped me transition into where I am now, and gave me the strength to kind of pursue this and get out of it and know, like, hey, I can go back and I can get back into this because I know what I'm capable of and I know what I can do.
Of course, how has it been like, obviously, as a college coach, seeing those athletes go on to the national level and represent either US or Canada?
Oh, so I haven't had any athletes go to the national level outside of, the national NCAA meet. I personally have not had that. I'm trying to think here. And I mean, my first year as a jumps coach at ACU, I had 5 go to the regional meet, and then the next year I had 6 go to the regional meet, which was incredible. Was really proud about that achievement. But we had one multi-athlete. He was a 213 high jumper, that's in meters, and he did that within the decathlete, and he ended up going to the national meet at the NCAA in Oregon. And me being there, being able to be a part of that whole process, that was really, 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 really special. Great athlete, great mindset, and that was the first in ACU's Division I era. He was one of their first All-Americans, so he placed 8th. Going into the competition, he was ranked not 8th at all, and he ended up getting 8th place. And so that was really something special to be a part of and see and witness. And again, the electricity at the national meet and being at Hayward Field, where the World Championships were held this year, that was really, really special.
Looking back on your coaching career, what has it been like obviously being a coach at your alma mater, and what were some of your fondest memories coaching at your alma mater?
Oh, yes. So, as I said, it was very special to coach at my alma mater, and a place that my dad had such history at, and was, just hearing those stories throughout, and then meeting the athletes of old too. It's like at the reunions, it's like I'd meet and talk with different people. That was really, really special. Last year, at the beginning of the year, I got to meet Marisa Cadenhead, who she competed for Canada and the Jamaican national team, I think, or it's one of the two. But she won nationals at the D2 meet, and then went to D1 and won nationals in the high jump. I want to say, don't quote me on that. I know she was a D2 national champion, but at that time you could go from D2 to D1. She was like a 6'2", 6'4" high jumper, female. Incredible. And that was really special, being able to meet her and her talking about her time at ACU. And again, it's like I was familiar with just the success of these athletes, so that was really, really special. Coaching again at my alma mater, what are my fondest memories? I would just say I'm a happy person in general, so it was good. It was definitely all very good. I mean, I enjoyed the meets, I enjoyed the electricity of the regional meet, and I really enjoyed that a lot. And yeah, I enjoyed designing the programs, and I enjoyed being able to meet some of ACU's greats through just our tradition and legacy. So,
what advice would you give those high school athletes that are looking to compete in college track and field?
What advice? Ooh, I would have to say, I mean, it's as cliche as it sounds. It's like you really have to be dedicated to your sport. You have to wait. It's like you have to figure out your goal and stick to that and believe it, and it really and truly become a belief. It's like you wake up every day and that's what you're thinking about, and it's like, okay, is this decision going to get me to my goal, or is it not going to get me to my goal? It's like that you have to continually ask yourself to kind of stay on that track of achieving and getting to your goal. Whatever's going on in your external outside of the sport itself. And it's like you just have to hold yourself to a high standard. Something that I always preach too, attention to detail. That is foundational. It's like if you want to be the best athlete, the best human in anything, it's like you have to pay attention to detail, the small things, the little things. You have to execute on those things daily. So it's like truly believing in that goal, A, and making sure that all your choices align with that goal that you have in mind, and then B, attention to detail. So and things will fall in place.
What advice would you give those college athletes that are looking to get into the national level and represent either Team USA or Team Canada?
I mean, same thing, It's like, again, I've never coached at that level. I have aspirations to eventually, but it's like you have to be bought into the sport. I mean, it's like you have to live it and breathe it. You truly do. I mean, it's like, look at Michael Jordan and his mentality and mindset. I don't know if I really loved The Last Dance, and I don't know if anybody's watched that or anything, but he became my favorite athlete after that point. And I had the privilege to meet like Carl Lewis and some of these. I mean, he was a coach as well, or yeah, he coached at U of H, and so I was able to meet him. And it's like the mentality, the mindset of some of these other coaches is phenomenal. But it's like you truly just have to live it and breathe it. And it's like it's basically like this goal is happening. You will it to happen. You just got to get it done. Period.
What advice would you give those future college coaches that are looking to coach in track and field?
This is so so weird. I'm 25 years old and I'm giving this advice to younger coaches wanting to get in, I guess. I do know one individual. This was really, really cool, his story, because I kind of watched it happen. He told me how he was a high school coach and he had to take a leap of faith and step out, and he became a volunteer for, I believe, either 1 year or 2 year period at a D1 program. He was a jumps coach. And it's like he just had to sit back and bide his time and be patient and learn a craft and learn a sport. So he's like, he went from volunteer, and this is a middle-aged man. Then he entered into another D1 coaching position, jumps program. It was obviously not on the same tier as the other D1 that he was at. And he was there for a year. And then now he's at this Power 5 program coaching. And, we were able to meet and really talk when he was at this. We ran into each other at a meet, and it was very special, his story. And I think basically what he told me is you just have to take that leap of faith, and again, it's being very passionate, and it's like seeing that goal in mind and knowing that it's going to take time, but it's going to happen. But you have to make those choices and make those decisions that are in line with the goal that you want to achieve. So it's just a thought process.
What advice would you give those college coaches that are looking to transition from being college coaches to getting into the corporate world like you did?
Wow. Just know the clientele and the people are gonna be different. Again, it's not the same intensity as all. And I've had to dial that down. But I'd figure that out. It's like internal, there's this like Navy SEAL. Externally, there's this like peaceful, happy, bubbly human. Obviously, I can be like intense. You can ask some of my athletes at ACU. It's like they say, they would be like, Brielle, sometimes you say things, or Coach Brie, like you say things without a filter sometimes. And it's like, hey man, it is what it is. Obviously, you can't do that so much in the corporate world. So I've had to dial it back a little bit, but it's definitely very internal, that internal fire. So for those making the transition, I would say, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do, So it's just like, just be as passionate, carry that passion. Again, what hurts me is that I fail to see that attention to detail, and so it's just across the board. So it's like always carry that attention to detail in anything that you do, and you'll be successful. And the perseverance. It's like, you have to have that mental fortitude for sure.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
Oh, wow. Okay, social media. Well, I'm pretty easy to find. My Instagram handle is at Brielle Collett, BRICOLLETT. Instagram is where I'm active. That's my favorite social media platform, and you can kind of just follow along in the journey. I don't have a separate. My Twitter account is more track and field. I'm trying to think. Let me look at my phone really fast, or I can. I think it's either at Brielle Collett or at Brielle Collett. So my full name, BRIELLECOLLETT. That's where you can find me.
Thank you again, Coach Brielle Collett, for your interview, and best of luck in your future wherever it may hold you.
All right. Thank you so much, Brandon. I appreciate the platform.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Brielle Collett, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Awesome. Thank you. This was great.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.